Hello, this is John Majori with Majori on Bowie, and this is the Majori on Bowie YouTube channel, where I have a new interview every week that always has something to do with David Bowie. And for daily content, visit the blog, www.majorionbowie.com, where I have new content every single day that almost always has something to do with David Bowie. And while you're here, please hit like and subscribe. I sometimes forget to say that. But I am reminded by two podcast veterans and professionals, so I have to be on my best behavior, Jonathan and Jesse Malloy, who are the former hosts of the dearly missed Fantastic Voyage podcast, a David Bowie podcast. The good news is, I think all of the episodes are still up. They're all timeless, and they're terrific. I think if you haven't heard them, track them down. It's a great show that Jonathan and Jesse hosted for how many years was it?
Four
years,
yeah.
Where they go through every Bowie album, I think every song and more, and they eventually reach a conclusion of the mission, and they end with the last two episodes ranking Bowie albums and Bowie songs, which was the most fun episodes of the whole podcast, and it's a tremendously fun podcast. So this is Jonathan and Jesse's return to my show, which I'm really delighted by, because I was hoping, and I think this is evidence that it is the case, that they will be occasional guests on my show, because I miss their show and I just want to hear them. So Jonathan and Jesse, thank you very much.
And we miss talking Bowie, so we appreciate you having us on. Thanks so much for having us again.
We're kind of in our Jordan baseball era now. We're trying something new with the video, and maybe, you never know, we may be back in our podcasting one day. We'll see. Thanks for pulling us out of retirement.
One of the things I wanted to ask was, and I'm going to ask it, but hold on before you answer, is you went from really having Bowie on the mind because you were always planning the next show to not having a next show to plan. And is there anything that you felt like, oh, I wish I covered this before the show came to an end? So think about that for a moment. I do want to point out for anybody that's just tuning into this, that one of the fun features of Fantastic Voyage is that Jonathan and Jesse would often actually talk about the songs on an album that they particularly liked, and the whole ranking process at the end was almost like a game. And so I'm going to telegraph what we're going to do in this. We're going to rank Bowie's top 12 live performances, individual songs.
Yeah.
Are you guys ready?
I'm excited. I'm ready. I think I'm ready.
I was just going to say, I think so.
All right. So let me just so what we're going to do is we are going to come up with the 12, because there's three of us, the 12 best live recordings of individual songs. And the only rule is this: if we nominate a song, somebody watching this or listening to this has to be able to find it. So I can't say, I mentioned I saw him in Hartford in 1990. As far as I know, there's no recording of that concert that's available. So I can't say. My number one is him singing Gloria in 1990 from Hartford, because nobody could see that. So if you
saw him out in the parking lot and he sang to you, "Wild as the Wind," and you danced.
Does not qualify. That would be disqualified, right?
Okay.
But other than that, it's by whatever criteria you want to apply, and we're going to go. We're going to take turns. And so, before we actually do it, why don't you guys describe how you did? How many, when you did the rankings of the top, you ranked the albums and then you ranked the songs. How did you actually just describe that process? Because we're going to sort of mimic it in this exercise.
So the songs and the albums we did different from the rest of our kind of how we did it. With that, we did an aggregate system where we kind of blindly, we didn't know what each other was picking, and then we put them together, crunch some numbers, move some things around, and that's how we came up with our rankings. It was an aggregate system. But at the end of each kind of mini era of Bowie's career throughout we'd call it the end of the season 1, season 2. We would get together and it started out where it was a collaborative list, I think for maybe 2 episodes, but then about the third one, we just started playing like a fantasy football draft where we'd go back and forth
Right.
and pick the songs that we thought best represented that era, our favorite ones. You know, we kind of we'd have to play on each other and go, oh, well, I know John's gonna pick this one, so I can hold off. But then he might leave it till the very end, and I'm going, oh, now I might have to burn a pick and use it,
So,
right? So
Yeah.
for example, we would do like say like the mid 70s, right? Where we'd start from like or we do like the Berlin was like a season, right? And it's like, well, someone's gonna have to pick heroes. So you
Yeah.
don't lead off with heroes. You kind of wait, and then you're sitting there at the end, and yeah, it was kind of a lot of fun. We called it a game of chicken, right? I think we even did that on the last time we were on your show. It's kind of like, you the low hanging fruit, so to speak. You kind of leave it for the end, and you kind of sneak some of your favorites in first, your more personal favorites, and then make the other guy pick the obvious one until you're sitting there with 3 picks left, and it's like, oh god, we haven't picked heroes or sound and vision and station to station yet. So
yeah.
but yeah.
So did that process either inflate or devalue certain songs?
I mean, I think when we did the collaborative list and looking at it, I think we did that for the 60s and the Spiders era. It might represent it more because we
Hmm.
really sat down and really tried to cover all the bases, as where the other lists are kind of more our personal favorites. It
Yeah.
skews heavier that way, I think. So and I think we even for a couple of the eras, we had to just get some of them out of the way to avoid that leaving station to
Right, yeah.
station to the end. So that we thought, like, let's make sure. I think Boys Keep Swinging was one where we were like, well, let's just make sure that that's there so we don't forget it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because we
Yeah.
think that that best represents it. But it might not be one of my personal favorites or one of John's personal that would make it over, half the songs on low or whatever. So it kind of had to evolve a little bit to make it where it
Hmm.
wasn't just me picking Move On over and over again, 8 versions of it.
I think we would try to do our diligence too to try to capture different sounds, right? Like I'm trying to think of just like station to station as another, just to pull an album out of the hat. Like maybe you don't want to have like Stay in TVC15 because you think they're similar. Maybe that's not the best example, but you know what I mean? Where you try to like,
Yes.
let's
Right.
say if you're doing the Spiders era, it's like you don't want to have like Star and Hang On to Yourself. You maybe pick
Hmm.
one of those two because you want to kind of cover all great bases. Bowie's too diverse of an artist to kind of just limit him to a couple of different styles. You kind of try to get like a full portrayal of a particular era. So yeah, I think that the less drafty of a of a style that you pick, them will kind of be better in that way, right?
Yeah.
But I think they both come with their pros and cons, both styles of pick. I mean, you're always going to feel like you left something off that you shouldn't have. It's David Bowie. How could you limit it to 10 or 15? There's always going to be great stuff left off.
Well, this is going to be very drafty, and part of the fun will be to see the weird result because of that, because of the process.
We may have to tack on an extra pick each at the end.
Okay.
make it
Top
15. We'll see.
15. Okay.
Unless I don't know. Do you want to limit it to 12? It'll be a bit more interesting. It'll be a bit more sweating, maybe.
Well, why don't we go for 12 and then we'll talk about the casualties, like what didn't
Okay,
make it,
sure.
and that will
Mhm.
actually turn it into 15.
Sounds good.
Okay, so just again to recap, we're going to do the top live recordings as long as they're accessible. They could be on a live album, they could be on a YouTube video that people could find, they could be on a television appearance, as long as you could still find it, right? As long as it's live and it could be found. And uh, you have to be able to name, it's not like Heroes Live, right? There's like 14 different
Yeah.
versions of Heroes Live. It's like Heroes Live at a particular venue.
Yeah.
All right. So who wants to go first?
You know what? Usually we'd want to go last, right?
Yes.
That was always the key. But I'm gonna play reverse chicken, and I'll go first if you guys are okay with that. Since we're
So,
talking about it so much, I want to make sure that the right version, my favorite version of Heroes, makes the playlist. Because I don't think we should have more than one. And maybe someone will
oh,
like another version very
Oh.
much, but
yeah.
I want the music laden version of Heroes to be my
Yes.
first pick because it is, I think it's the best performance he ever did from like
Oh,
if you are to pick one song, it's just his voice when he comes into the "And You Will Be My Queen" is just like my kids even stopped. I had it on the other day. They stopped and looked. Like it just sends
So which
chills down
version
the
is this?
music laden. It was recorded in May of '78. That TV special that we've mentioned, I
Yeah.
think. Yeah, and it's Heroes. It's a full version. A lot of times he cuts off the first verse.
right.
This one he does the full thing and does the breaks. It's like a 7 minute long version, and he's got his '78 band. I think is his best band, with Adrian Belew playing a crazy lead guitar on it as well. Yeah, that'll be my first pick. Music
Wow.
laden Heroes.
Well,
Jesse,
that
it was on my list. I'm so glad that you that you picked it. I don't think it wasn't going to be one of my top ones, so I'm glad because I get to do the honors for those, right? But it was one where I was, if I had to reach a little bit further, I was going to pick that. What I like about that version is it's I don't know about you, but I seem to remember it being a more kind of joyous rendition. He's a little bit happier
Yeah, oh
sounding
yeah.
that as opposed to the album version, and that's good because you're never going to really recapture that kind of emotional prowess of the album version. I mean, that's just like it's its own thing. You'll never be able to top that, but he kind of does it a little bit of a different style, which is great because then it's not a carbon copy. It's a little bit different. He just seems to be a lot happier in that version of it. And yeah, I love that's one of my, it is the best live rendition, I think, of that song. Totally.
wow. So that also throws the gauntlet because there are other good live versions of Heroes. So is that it for Heroes, or does Heroes come back?
Yeah.
So I guess that leaves me for the next pick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go with a little bit more of a recent one. This is one that kind of came onto my radar. Like a lot of the picks that I have are more so ones that, like, when you introduced this topic to us, I had like a bunch, like 5 things popped to my head, and I'll
Yeah.
probably pick those. But this one was more of a recent development, and it's Stay, live at the Nassau Coliseum in 1976.
Yeah.
And it's just such a great. It's almost like everything that I love about that kind of, when Bowie sounds like that Kraftwerk kind of inspired Bowie sound, or like the baggy scene that came after Bowie, like the Stone Roses, the Charlotte, like that kind of like 12-inch dance mix era, Spacemen 3 stuff where you got like these great repetitive instrumental breaks with this like kind of very hypnotic rhythm section. It allows for like a great guitar solo, and it's not like a guitar solo like in the Eddie Vedder sense or whatever, like a Guitar Hero thing. It's more of just like this great locked in kind of groovy psych thing, and it's just the type of thing it just makes me want to get up and dance. Like I was listening to that in my basement, I was just kind of like just like moving around to it. And it was just that that's another great band of his, right? It's right, that's 76, that's right before the pick Jesse just had. It's Alamar's on guitar, but it's actually Stacey Hayden as I believe the lead guitarist, who's kind of like not one that you really talk about a lot, right?
Right.
You'd
Yeah.
think like Ronson or Reeves or Bellew, but it's actually Stacey Hayden who does a great guitar solo, and kind of more like, I think like more like the Young Americans band, like the George Murray, Dennis Davis on bass and drums. But yeah, just kind of like a great hypnotic. I think it's a little bit longer than the album version, but it doesn't bore me. I never think, oh, it's going on too long. I'm just kind of wanting to move the entire time.
Yeah. Great song too.
Some
Really rocking. It flies.
Something from Nassau was gonna make it. Now I was gonna probably do TVC 15 maybe, but Stay is a great pick too. So yeah, that's the
I
band
think it's,
is just hot.
yeah, and I think it's the type of song where it just works as a live song because it allowed, like, that song invites you to kind of extend it a little bit more and just kind of riff. It's a great kind of funky, repetitive riff, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's wanting to be played live, that song, and it might even be my favorite version, probably better than the album at this point. I
I
really
think
love that rendition.
there are several live versions of that song that I prefer to the album version.
Really.
Yeah.
Wow.
Nothing against
Yeah.
the album version, but yeah, it's meant for
Yeah.
the stage. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. There's a clip of him doing that song on the Dinah Shore show, and after he does it, he sits down and he holds his head in his hands like he's not satisfied with his own performance. And
Oh, neat.
she asks him, Dinah Shore had a talk show in the 70s, but she was a singer herself. who was popular in the 40s. And she says, "How do you feel after you do a number like that?" And you could tell that there's something he wasn't satisfied with. But it sounds great. I actually think it sounds great. But
That's
so
neat.
okay.
I got to see that.
Yeah, it's easy to find. If you Google "Stay Dinah Shore," you'll find
Yeah.
it on YouTube. Yeah. Um, so this is interesting because neither of those two songs made my list. And so strategically, do I go with my number 12 or do I go with my number 10?
Right.
I think I think I'm going to go with my number 12, and I'll say why. Um, it's All the Young Dudes from Glastonbury 2000.
Okay.
Yeah. And the reason I chose this was he seems so happy. And it's like at this stage of his career, and I actually one of my guests on this show was M. Griner, who was a backup singer at that concert, and she was talking about the experience of not just singing but also watching him. And I asked her, was he happy then? And she said, yeah, he was very happy. And you could just for me, of all the songs from that concert, it seems like he really connects with 100,000 people in the audience, right? It's that big. And he seems joyous, and it just sort of comes like I was you could see the concert and then you could also listen to it. It's actually a very good live album. And I was talking to a friend about it, and I remember saying, "How is this guy not still alive?" Right? Because that
Yeah.
performance is just so full of energy and full of life. I don't know that it's technically the best live song that he's ever done, but I wanted to include it just because it's like it's almost like he arrived at a point in life where he's finally a happy person, and it really comes through in that performance for me. So I'm going to say All the Young Dudes, Glastonbury 2000.
That's a great
He's a lot.
pick. And great. I love the reasoning behind it too. And it also, because the definitive studio cut of that song isn't him,
Isn't
I
him?
felt like it's nice. We kind of have to pump that song up in ways like this,
Yeah.
to get versions. And there are several versions of that song that may still end up making this playlist or this list, right? Like
Yeah. Yeah.
I could think of two off the top of my head. I know Johnny might pick one. I may pick it still. We'll see. So I'm glad it's getting like, yeah, All the Young Dudes needs that representation across these lists because it's one of the greatest songs he ever wrote.
Yeah. Yep.
I
And
guess
you're
that's
up.
me, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna go with a personal favorite. I'm gonna go early. This might be the earliest one that makes our list. It's "Let Me Sleep Beside You" from the earlier mentioned Live at the Beeb album. So 1969. It's with Junior's Eyes is the backing band. Mick Wayne on guitar. It's not the Spiders, but it sounds like he knows where his sound is going to go, and he takes that last kind of Deerham era single. I think that was the last song that was a single from that era, maybe, or one of the last. It was a late one. Visconti produced it, I believe, and it's the sound of things to come. It sounds kind of normal at the beginning, and
Yeah.
then all of a sudden this guitar kind of creeps in and it rocks out for the chorus. Um, yeah, you got it, John. It's one of my favorites. It's one of the reasons why I got into Bowie was that song. As as anybody who listened to our show knows, we love the pre-Space Oddity Bowie catalog very dearly. We hold it very, very close to our hearts. So we got to represent that as much as we can too.
So there's somebody who's important to you who says that that's the very best that Bowie ever did, right? Tell that story very
Yeah,
quickly.
our dad,
Yeah.
our dad, and he means it. Like we have him on our last episode. A quick little clip. We asked him like at Christmas or something. We put a microphone in front of him and said, "Name your top 10 Bowie songs" off the top of his head, and he picked. I think it was like 7 or 8 of them came from the Deerham label and Up the Hill Backwards or something. But he means it. He says Bowie peaked in '67.
You know, Not my view, but I give him points.
Not ours either, but and he likes his other stuff too. It's not like he,
Yeah.
turns his nose up to, like, he introduced us to a lot of his later works as well. I think Scary Monsters might be his favorite LP aside from Images.
I'm really glad you picked that version of. I think me and you probably, that's no surprise to you, Jesse, that I love that rendition of "Let Me Sleep Beside You Too." I like, had you not picked it, it was going to go on my list at some point. It's really great because it's like very different from the Deerham cut. Like it's kind
Yeah.
of more like rock. It's got a little bit more. He's kind of like screaming the vocals a bit. The melody even changes a little bit. That's a great pick. I kind of figured you would pick that, and I'm so happy for it because now I get to pick other personal favorites, which I suppose I'll have to do now because I'm up.
Yeah.
So I think I'm going to pick. So this definitely exists on YouTube. I don't think it's going to be on streaming, unfortunately. So if we're going to make like a Spotify playlist, this will kind of derail things. But it's going to be so Bowie, when he was at his 50th birthday at Madison Square Garden. You know where I'm going with this?
Yes, you're gonna pick it.
He brings out Lou Reed, and it's just like it's so awesome, right? You see Bowie with his idol, and it's like it's so perfect. It's such a, almost for the same reasons you took your last pick, John. This is more so for just the feel good moment. It's like, wow, that's Bowie with his idol. He introduces him as the king of New York. And I guess I haven't said the song yet. The song I'm going to pick is "White Light, White Heat."
Yeah.
It's my favorite of the bunch. They also do "Queen Bitch" and "I'm Waiting for the Man," which just as easily could have been the pick here. But I just think the "White Light, White Heat" rendition is kind of rocks the most or something. I know that's the one I'm picking, but I think Bowie's acoustic works well. Now, I don't think he's actually playing a guitar for "White Light, White Heat," but during that performance, he's got an acoustic. It meshes so well with Lou and his electric guitar, and it's just what a moment seeing those two on stage together, and Bowie absolutely starstruck with his idol. And Jesse and I'm sure, John, you're the same. We're huge fans of Lou Reed too, so seeing Bowie and Lou is just incredible.
Yeah, I had that. Not that performance, but I had "White Light, White Heat" from the Ziggy Stardust: The Motion Picture soundtrack as my number 5. So I'm not going to say that now because I don't. As much as I like it, I'm not going to have the same song twice. But yeah, I mean, it's like, I'm sorry, Jesse.
I would have picked "Queen Bitch" from that. It was the one that I would have gone with, but for that, all the same reasons that John mentioned. It's just he's so happy. He's looking over and he can't believe that, Uncle Lou's there. Even though, he's he was the star, like Bowie. It was just that there's something so magic. I think they even do an album off or a song off of New York as well. Like Lou was up there for a few songs. What a moment captured.
And Bowie's kind of all giddy and then Lou's in his usual monotones because they kind of trading verses, right? Bowie will sing a verse and Lou will do a verse, and Lou's kind of just like talking his verse. But to be fair, the Lou doesn't sometimes Lou can come off as like almost like a prickish or snobbish. He doesn't come off as that though. He's kind of having a good time up there too, and it's an amazing thing to see. And yeah, like to John's point, like "White Light, White Heat," this is Bowie's been covering "Waiting for the Man" and "White Light, White Heat" since the 60s, right? Like this is what probably his biggest influence possibly ever, right? So for them to be up there together is such a special moment. I'm sure that would have been like, if Bowie was here with us doing this, he would have picked something from that, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So you also, though, you didn't know this, but you actually touched on a very sore topic, which is that particular concert. And the reason it's sore topic is that concert was in Madison Square Garden in New York City, which is within driving distance of where I live. And my sister went to it, and she didn't tell me until after. My sister could have gotten me a ticket to that concert, and so I'm still mad at her because of
that. Oh no, I figured you were going there with that when you said sore spot. I went, oh yeah, you're from the region.
Yeah,
you missed out. Oh, that's
I missed it. So the other thing is, I'm back up, right? So I had that on, and that also, if you didn't name that, what I would, and I'm going to do it anyway. You did "White Light, White Heat," which I had as my number 5. I had as my number 8, "Waiting for the Man" from Santa Monica '72, which was, nice. As you indicated, Bowie did both of those songs, and I think I remember him reading that he had said when he first heard "Waiting for the Man" that he wished he had written that song. Like
Yeah.
he felt like that was
Yeah.
the sound he wanted, and he would just perform it. And there's multiple recordings of him performing it, but he never recorded it in the studio. So, those two Velvet Underground songs, you could hear Bowie. I think I heard him do White Light, White Heat live at a concert. But Waiting for the Man, there are multiple recordings. I just picked, I thought something should be, Santa Monica 72 is an excellent live album, and I wanted something to be representative from that. And so I picked Waiting for the Man. So that will be number 7. That will be my second pick.
Nice.
And that Santa Monica bootleg, I guess it's an official album now. I mean, it's that style of song that band really hits home. Like they hit a home run doing those kind of fast, more upbeat rockers, right? Like that Santa Monica performances. There's like 8 other songs that are kind of similar that could have been on there as well. But yeah, it's like that's like a great fit. The Spiders and that song are like a match made in heaven.
Yeah.
Yeah, and quite different from what you hear a year later on the Ziggy Motion Picture soundtrack. It's a totally different sound, and the Santa Monica band definitely captures that type of the white light, white heat. It's just rock and roll. There's there's no Garson. It's not as theatrical. It's just very there. You can tell that it's not as big time yet. It feels like you're there. It feels like it's in a smaller venue,
It's they seem like the most youthful, like they've got an edge. They're right, like you
there's
might
the
have seen
edge.
them.
Yeah,
right.
Punk's before punk. It's proto-punk.
Right.
Like they were the Sex Pistols, right? Jesse alluded to that earlier. It was the Sex Pistols before the Sex Pistols, kind of,
Yeah.
And they loved that sound too, and it kind of shows. And Bowie had been doing that song, Waiting for the Man, because I think he heard an acetate of Velvet Underground and Nico like before it even came out by like a year and a half or something. I think he'd heard that as early as 65, which is like, he was just starting out, and he was kind of doing a rhythm and blues and kind of, garage rock kind of sounding stuff. But just a song that is very important to Bowie. It had been with him pretty much his entire musical career. So it's a super important song for him. And he kept it alive. I want to say he was doing those songs from the 60s all the way up until probably Glastonbury, whenever his last couple of shows were. He was always doing those Lou songs.
Right. Yeah. Okay, Jesse, you're up.
I feel like my next 2 that I really want on, it doesn't matter which one I pick, because I think we're into favorites territory. So I'm gonna go to the Laurel Leaf Festival in 1996, and this is one of my favorite live shows that you can find on YouTube. It's the Outside Tour, and I had trouble picking which I went back and forth between a couple of songs, and I've settled on The Voyeur of Utter Destruction. You get so much with it. You get the beginning of that song is so eerie, and it's so moody, and Bowie's shrieking voice, you could tell he's so excited to be doing this song. He even introduces the song on another one of those live albums in the 90s, where he's so excited. He's like, this next one's called The Voyeur. Like he's like cheering it on before it's even started. So like it kind of affirms how excited he is to be doing this song live. It was built for the stage. The way that song shifts halfway through, when Garson basically falls on his piano and just hits that F sharp chord, minor chord, and then the Reeves guitar solo at the end to cap it all off. It's got so much going for it, that song, and I couldn't leave it off. So 96, we're going in new decade. The Laurel Leaf Festival's version of The Voyeur of Utter Destruction. We'll have to send these links to you, John, so that you can compile them for the blog.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. That's the fun of it, right? We could create everything we're talking about. But I'm going to post that after the interview posts, so people don't know.
Yeah, of course.
Before. I might even wait like a week, right, to give people a chance. And by the way, the show is picking up viewers, so more people will see this than saw the first one.
Oh, nice. That's awesome.
Yeah. So you only have one left if I'm counting correctly.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. So I counted wrong because there's three songs I absolutely wanted on this list, and I only have two left. But so John, maybe one of them will come from you guys. So
Maybe,
John,
yeah. Well,
you're next. Yeah.
Jesse just he slipped the rug from under me. I was gonna pick the same song, different performance. So I'm curious to. I'm not sure if I'm familiar with the one that you just mentioned, Jesse, because I was gonna pick the Birmingham '95 version.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, just to kind of piggy off what you said, I mean, I'm sure they're similar in rendition. Like what I loved about like that song live, and just that album or that kind of period, right? I think it's called No Trendy Show or whatever that live
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah.
That album, what's kind of cool is the songs like Voyeur or some of the songs like Space Boy off Outside, they kind of go in a little bit more of an art rock direction, and then the art rock songs that he's doing from his 70s stuff that he does in the 90s kind of have more of an industrial sound where it's like the industrial songs
Yes.
kind of blend with art rock and the art rock. So it's just kind of blending of the two. Like I'm glad that we're representing this period because I think his band in the 90s were really good at doing that, like taking that 70s sound and modernizing it and taking the modern songs and kind of, they sound like it can be on low, like when he's doing Voyeur, it kind of almost sounds like a low rendition. So that's a
Yeah.
great pick. I'm glad you picked that one for sure.
And I love, like you said, the flip side of that was bringing songs from the 70s into the mid
Yeah.
90s. The my favorite example of that is Andy Warhol. He does,
Mm.
and it's just incredible. Totally new arrangement. I think the more famous one that he did, he totally rearranged Man Who Sold the World, which is another great example. But I prefer Andy Warhol as one of the old ones that he pulled up, and redid 20 years later.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
So I'm torn here. I got two more picks. I got to kind of maybe be smart about it. Try to think of which ones might get picked. But you know what? At this point, I think I'm just going to go with what I want to be on there. I'll go with the next highest on my list because we haven't picked anything from this yet. I bet you Jesse's smiling because I think he knows exactly what I'm going to pick. The title track on this great. I mean, I think this is just the absolute best live set of Bowie songs you can find. This is called Welcome to the Blackout. It's a live in London, 1978. I'm going to pick the song Blackout. When we did our top 100 lists of Bowie songs, I was kind of going like, I wanted Blackout in the list, but I'm kind of thinking like, I want it to be this version though. Like, because if we don't pick this version, there's probably like 100 songs that I want over it because Bowie's got so many great songs. But yeah, the band's flying on this. It's aptly called Welcome to the Blackout. He says welcome to the blackout before they do it. And it's just kind of like this just great kind of cool performance of the song. And I think this, I mean, if there's any takeaway from this episode, if somebody wants to listen to a live album, I cannot recommend this album. But I mean, because you got to think about it. This is 78, right? He's got at this point such a great back catalog to choose from, right? He's doing basically things from like Hunky Dory and Ziggy up until I guess Heroes, right? And it's just like such great material. He's kind of picking like 4 songs from every album. And it's like you can't go wrong. You Blackout, Breaking Glass, Fame, Beauty and the Beast, Genie, Ziggy, Rebel. It's just he had just amassed such a great back catalog at this point. Now he's just kind of offloading it. He's kind of clean now, right? He's off he took refuge in Berlin. He's off the drugs, and he seems to be in a great headspace. He's got great songs to pick from, and I mean, I could have picked a lot of different songs from here. I love the rendition of Art Decade. I love some of the ambient stuff that's on here. But I think if I had to pick one, though, it's going to have to be the title track, Blackout. It's just because it's the one where I kind of prefer it to the album version. I don't know if I could say that about the rest of these songs, but I can with Blackout.
Yeah. That's
so
that's
good.
a great pick. Yeah.
I remember when I first listened to that album, I was shoveling rock in my backyard. Like we were putting rocks on the side of the house and I had headphones on. And I've never shoveled rock so fast in my life when Blackout came on. I was moving to the bass and and Beauty and the Beast is another standout. It's very similar sounding.
For sure.
I would have wanted one of those two to be on it. I probably would lean Blackout as well, but major shout out to Beauty and the Beast, which I think is such an underrated track off Heroes. I think I feel like that and Joe the Lion kind of are oh yeah, but those aren't maybe the strong. I think those songs are so good. And they grew on me especially when I listened to this live version of of Beauty and the Beast. Yeah, that is probably, I think, our consensus top live album, wasn't it, John, on our show? Did we
Yeah.
say that? Yeah.
Yeah, and I've noticed too, like if you look online, people kind of consider it to be better than stage. I guess people think it's mixed better, it sounds better. I think the sequencing people kind of prefer. I think the stage is kind of like this album that had potential. It's a little bit of a mess, but then like this is where you get more songs on this too, right? So
Yeah.
yeah,
Does it have
again,
I
like
can't remember. No, go ahead.
no, I wasn't gonna say go.
I do like the little Ziggy section on stage though, where he does it kind of in order. He 5 years,
Yes.
Soul Love. He gets right into it, and I love Soul Love. It's one of my favorites. So to hear that with that band was
Well,
really neat.
he does it here. It's disc 2 starts off 5 years, Soul Love, Star, Hang On to Yourself, Ziggy, and Suffragette. And it looks
So
like
it's on
that's
there,
it.
right?
It's
Yeah, I get the mix.
similar,
See,
yeah.
these overrepresented.
Yes.
Sometimes we like it.
Yeah.
And a hilarious version of a Whiskey Bar too, with the "I tell you, we must,"
Yeah.
super weird
Yeah.
falsetto lyrics. Like, this is a
Yeah.
great collection of it, station to station. You got kind of like a full buffet platter here, all kinds of different songs, different song types, and yeah, definitely check
Yeah.
this out if you haven't.
Yeah, no, that's a great live album. And Blackout is it's an underrated song. It's
Yes.
if you're not talking to a Bowie fan, there's a good chance that they're
Right.
not going to even know the song.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
it's a really, the studio recording and that live recording are both they're both terrific. And Beauty and the Beast is actually my favorite song. I don't know if I told you
Oh,
that. Yeah.
really?
didn't know
Oh,
that.
that is. Oh, that's perfect. That's
Yeah.
great. I didn't know that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So good.
I can't
So
even
good.
tell you why, but it's just my favorite song.
Anytime someone says, and I know that's not the actual thing that Tony Visconti was saying. I know he was saying "fuck a priest," but anytime
Yes.
somebody, we thought "fetch a priest" was even better, and I'm
Yeah.
sure Bowie did too. That's why he said it. Something about like we better fetch a priest. It's like, whoa,
Yeah.
something's going on. I want to be
He,
there.
he would sometimes unintentionally create meaning.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what a groove, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I have to, of 3 essential songs, I have to knock one of them out. So I'm going to say for number 4, which is my second to last. So Bowie, I think his best television appearances came in the same year, which was 1979. And there's what I'm going to leave off my list is the more famous, but I'm not going to say what it is because when we, it might still come up.
Yeah.
But what I will choose for number 4, which is my second to last one, is the version of Space Oddity he did on the Kenny Everett show in 1979. And he does it in the same show where he, I think, debuts Ashes to Ashes.
We interrupt this podcast. No. He did not debut Ashes to Ashes on the Kenny Everett show New Year's Eve 1979. He used some of the same sets that show up in the Ashes to Ashes video. That's why I was confused. Okay, back to the podcast.
When he does Ashes to Ashes on the show, he does it using a set that was part of the set for the video of Ashes to the famous video of Ashes to Ashes. So it's that sort of time period where he's getting ready to release Scary Monsters. This is New Year's Eve, 1979, where he does Space Oddity, then he does Ashes to Ashes. So he makes the connection between the 2 songs.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
but the performance I think is great. But the real reason I'm choosing this is there's a moment where he's singing the song and he stops and he looks around, and it's acting, right? He's acting, but he's looking around like he's insecure and he doesn't know what to do. And he moves from one set to another live while he's doing the song, and then he continues. And just that moment to me is value added. It is something, this song that I've heard so many covers of, and the studio recording, it's a great song, obviously, but I've heard it so often that it sort of its value has diminished just because I've heard it so much. but not this performance. This performance is something different. And he has a very sort of David Byrne, effect while he's performing this. And so it's a great version to hear, but it's very easy to find the video on YouTube or on Nacho's channel, Nacho's videos. He restored the complete appearance on the Kenny Everett show. It's absolutely worth seeing. Watch him do this song, and then watch him do Ashes to Ashes too, because you'll see some familiar sets, because you're familiar with them from the video, but he's doing it on live television. So Space Oddity 79 Kenny Everett show is my next choice, which is number 4.
I just had one of those, oh yeah, moments. I'm so glad you brought that up because I saw that years ago and I haven't
Yeah.
thought of that in years. It's just one of those things where I feel like it was during my coming of Bowie age where I realized how great he was when everything was coming in,
Yeah.
and that little performance was part of that. And I
Yeah.
remember I haven't thought of that in years. That's an awesome pick. I can't wait to revisit that.
It's a good one, yeah. And now you're up. This is your final pick, the number 3 best
Ugh.
live recording.
This is tough.
Yeah.
This is tough because there's some stuff that I thought for sure I'd be picking, and I'm just not. I
Mhm.
think I'm gonna have to go. Well, we don't have anything from the 80s on
Uh-huh.
here yet, and we
Yeah.
don't have anything from the 2000s on here yet. So I'm gonna knock both of those off in one pick, and I'm gonna pick "Loving the Alien" on the reality tour
Okay.
with
Mm.
Jerry Leonard, with a looper pedal, essentially. Um, it's just that's basically it. It's Jerry Leonard, an acoustic guitar, a looper pedal, and David Bowie, and they did it for some. He rearranged it, or just stripped it down to just that
Yeah.
for a show. It was like a one-off thing where Bowie phoned Jerry Leonard up and said, "I want you to strip down Loving the Alien. We don't want the big production that maybe ruined it in
Yeah.
80 in 84." And it was so good that he said, "Well, let's bring it on tour." And then Jerry Leonard said later that playing those trying to get the timing right with that looper pedal live every night was always I think he said he couldn't he couldn't wait to get that part of the show over because it was kind of eating at him, like, oh, I got to get this right with all these people in the crowd, and it's not easy to sync that up every time. You got to play it
Hmm.
and record it and then get the timing right, and it is a beautiful version. Bowie's the key is different from the original, and it sits in a great register for Bowie, and he almost messes up the words about, I think it's maybe the start of the third verse. He fumbles with his words, but in a true professional way, he changes the delivery so that it sounds intentional. If you didn't know that he's almost saying what he had already said in a previous verse, you wouldn't catch it because he says it so well. Yeah, and I think that's kind of a neat moment where you realize, oh yeah, this guy is human too.
So, Jesse, I know the version, and I generally know what you mean when you're talking about the looper pedal. But what does the looper pedal do? Like, what's the effect that had on the song?
So, you know what? I've actually got a miniature one here. So, here's a little looper pedal. So, you put it at the end of your chain on your guitar. You plug into it, and
Yeah.
the other side it goes out. So, if you click on this, it starts recording what you're playing live. You hit it again, and it stops and instantly repeats what you just played.
Hmm.
So this one has 360 seconds worth, so you could do a ton and you can save them and stuff like that. But he would do it live each time. He'd play something, so he'd stomp
Yeah.
it on, play something, stop at the end of the measure, and then it just would instantly repeat. So if
Yeah.
you mess up your timing, or if you hit it wrong or do something wrong, it's going to be infinitely repeated
Yeah.
wrong, right?
Yeah.
So it's really neat. It's basically just like a little miniature recording machine that just you could use live at your feet. It's really
Yeah.
fun to play around with, and a really cool way to add an extra guitar to that song when it's really just one.
Yeah. Wow. I think that it's interesting. It's a great choice, and I think, John, you mentioned that you like the live version of Blackout better than the studio version. I think that arrangement of Loving the Alien, there's probably I don't know this, but I'm gonna guess there's probably the broadest consensus that is superior to the studio recording, right? A lot of Bowie, you might not share this view. For me, a lot of Bowie, the studio versions sound the best. But there is an example where I don't know who's going to say the studio version sounded better than what you just said, what you just nominated to this list.
Yeah,
It's always
he
the
said
gripe
so.
with that album. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Bowie even said that this is the way it should have always been done, he thought.
Mm-hmm.
I have come to peace with the studio version too, because you know what? It's there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm glad we have both. Let's put it
Yeah.
get that out of the way. But the production on Let's Dance and Tonight are a product of their time, and it's just the way it is. Like I kind of come to peace with that being super glossy and overproduced. But I think we even said when we picked it was on our top 100 list. And we just kind of said Loving the Alien is there, not necessarily this version or that version, because
Yeah.
it's all the song, like the meaning of the song too, is too good for that production, kind of, like
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't dislike the studio version, but I just think that the later arrangement is better. And I'm also smiling because I'm thinking of my all-time favorite part of your show was the tumble and twirl pick.
Yeah. Yeah. Tumble and Twirl. The greatest Bowie song ever.
So to find out what we're talking about, listen to Fantastic Voyage and it will become clear. And you too will appreciate it.
And we do like Tumble and Twirl. That's not a joke. That's not
Yeah.
a thing it's the worst. It's just like songs that are damn fine.
Yeah.
That and shit. Yeah.
Oh, all right.
I got,
John.
Last one. I'm kind of inspired by, because I got a few here, like I'm sure we all do, right? Like there's a few different directions I can go, but I think I'm gonna kind of take cue from Jesse's last pick and go with a song where I prefer this live rendition to the studio album. And I really think it's kind of like an underrated song of his. And this is going to be another one from Bowie at the Beeb. It's the Silly Boy Blue version with it's the Tony Visconti orchestra, right? So what I prefer about this version is that it's a kind of like a lot more of like a bombastic and kind of like an elaborate arrangement. There's kind of more strings, there's chimes, there's gongs, and I do like the album version, but I think kind of like Loving the Alien, the song maybe left a little bit of potential on the table. And if you play this version of Silly Boy Blue from Live at the Beat, I think it's even a little bit longer even. It's the one where he's kind of giving like a little bit of a shout out to one of the one that was teaching him and Visconti some of like the Buddhist ideology. I think his name was Chimmy something, and there's a part in the song where Bowie's kind of going Jimmy, 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 Jimmy. It's just got so much it's got a lot going for it. And another's like Jesse was just talking about, Loving the Alien's a great song concept. I think Silly Boy Blues kind of Bowie's in his Tibetan kind of theory and ideology, kind of talking about outcasts and the disassociated. It's a very mature song, which ironically called Silly Boy Blue. You'd think, especially from that period, there's kind of a lot of silly songs like Little Bombardier and that. But Silly Boy Blues kind of a really, I think, great example of Bowie having mature concepts at a young age. And that performance at the BBC, it's like I said, I like the album version, but I prefer the BBC version by like a quite a big margin. I think even when we were doing our best of the 60s playlist, we included this song, and it was in fact this version. So
and I think we both suggested it too, if I'm not mistaken. We said that song's gonna make it, and then we both said that live version.
Yeah, kind of goes without saying. If you heard, but I mean, maybe people do prefer the album version, but I do think it's generally considered to be a great version, and if not a superior version. Like I don't think that's unique to me, unique to you. I think a lot of people consider this to be if they've heard both, that this is the superior version. So that'll be the one that rounds it out for me. I had to pick
Yeah.
something from that period too. You know, even though our dad randomly kind of doesn't care for this song, this was
Really?
I had to,
Yeah,
I had
that's
to pick
How,
something.
how is it? How could that be? It's
I
I
don't know.
don't.
He prefers like Little Bombardier, like actually.
your father's an
He's-
interesting person.
Yeah, Maids of Bond Street.
Maids
Yeah.
of Bond Street's like his favorite. Yeah.
He plays
Did you
that for
ever have
people
a
still.
Not my
Yeah.
favorite Bowie songs.
Somehow,
Wow.
yeah, they're yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna tell you
Pressure's
mine,
on.
and then let's do what we didn't, what we had on our
Okay.
personal list that didn't make the list, which will
That'll relieve the pressure a little bit.
yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna say this because this is truly and genuinely my favorite live recording by David Bowie. I'm slightly, it occurs to me as I'm saying this that, you guys are Canadian and I'm from the U.S. and so I need to explain maybe an emotional context to this song that does not necessarily resonate. So it's America, which is the Simon and Garfunkel song that he recorded. It's on the album of the Concert for New York, which was done in the wake of the 2001 terrorist attacks, that brought down the World Trade Center in New York City. So David Bowie lived very close to the World Trade Center. He lives within walking distance. And there was a concert that was put on, I think, the following month. And it was really, I think it raised some funds, but it was really a morale booster for Manhattan. And he did two songs. He did Heroes and he did America, which, as far as I know, he never did anywhere else any other times. And his performance is, first of all, I like it much better than the Simon and Garfunkel version. But it's also, leave it to David Bowie to choose a song that's called America for that moment that is really, and it's really not a black and white song. And I have, for me, a line from that song that really sort of speaks to the moment, which is, if you could imagine the song, late in the song, the narrator sings, "Kathy, I'm lost," I said, though I know she was sleeping. "I'm empty and aching, and I don't know why." And I think about that line now, and that line really resonates. I think that's the sentiment that he was getting at. And the other thing, if you think about what was he doing at that time, was he was putting the final touches on Heathen, and that that sentiment, I think, sort of permeates the album Heathen, which seems like it's about 9/11, but it's not really. And it's really, it's sort of capturing the kind of an unease that existed at that period, which, I am not going to get into politics, but I sort of feel that sort of disquiet now. But beyond the meaning, I just thought that his performance was, it's my favorite live performance by David Bowie. So that was going to be my number one.
That's incredible. I haven't heard that. So that is
me neither. Yeah.
that's a great pick. Wow. Yeah, that's and you're right. That's interesting that he was just putting the final touches on Heathen when that happened. A video just came out of Visconti talking about that, where he said it's on the official Bowie channel. They're kind of going through the new box set, and
Yeah.
Visconti was talking about Heathen, and he said they were living at the studio that they had rented, and he phoned him up in the middle of the night. He phoned Visconti and said, "You have to come to my room, like come in." And he said, "What's the matter?" So he rushed over, and they saw the second plane hit
Yeah.
in
Wow.
Bowie's room. So yeah, I didn't know that he'd performed at that. That's very interesting. I can't wait to check that out.
Well, so if you get the album, there's two Bowie songs on the album. It's a double CD, and it's actually
Okay.
a very good concert. But like as soon as this is over, you could find a high quality video on YouTube of him performing the song.
Right.
And yeah, like you mentioned, I mean, we're Canadian, you're American, but that obviously was huge in the news cycle.
Yeah.
That's actually my first, like, remember when they say what was the big first world event? I mean, so 2001, I was 6 years old, right? So that's one of the first, like, I do remember that morning, like, vividly.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's like one of my first ever, the first, major world event that I can recall from my lifetime. Jesse, obviously, he's older than me by 6 years.
Yeah. Yeah. That
Almost
was.
like I think you just kind of reminded me of he was doing, I think this is before 9/11 though, but he was doing Oh Superman live. It was more Gail Dorsey that was singing, right? But that's another song that kind of got recontextualized in the wake of 9/11, right? Because there's that lyric, here come the planes. They're American planes made in America, smoking or non-smoking.
Yeah.
I think that predates it, but it is interesting how a lot of stuff just does get you can recontextualize it through the lens of 9/11. Yeah, like the album Heathen, okay, so it comes out, he's recorded the ideas before, but they kind of get repurposed and recontextualized in the event of the news. You can kind of piece things together in that way.
Yeah. Wow. All right. So that's our list, and I will create a playlist like a week after the video posts. But
Right.
let's talk about what we had on our lists that didn't make it into that top 12 there.
So I played a bit of chicken and it didn't pay off. I thought somebody would pick some kind of Life on Mars version.
Uh-huh.
My favorite is that the Elysee in Elysee in Paris in '99. So that would have been the Hours tour. Just a great version of him and Garson, and there's a great video of it up on YouTube where you can see that. Um, yeah, that's one that I kind of thought I don't really. It could be any version of Life on Mars, so I'm not particular on which one. So I'll leave it off and hope somebody picks something. But that would have made it for me. I wanted to get Time on there as whether it's him up at the glass spider with that
Yeah.
the wings coming down,
Yeah.
or
Oh, yeah.
just with Ronson, and pick your version. I guess whether I would be the motion picture version with him, over top of him. It's just incredible. And I'll give one more that I wanted, which was Wild Eyed Boy from Free Cloud, from the motion picture. The medley into All the Young Dudes. Wild Eyed Boy from Free Cloud is one of my absolute favorite David Bowie songs. And while it's disappointing that he cuts it off before my favorite part of that song, there's something about that transition. And Johnny and we went to see the Brett Morgan film in IMAX, and we sat there and watched it start with that, and it felt like I was there. If as two guys that had never seen Bowie before, that was almost as close as it got. So I thought you would pick it, John, but
that was kind of that was one of the ones I was expecting to get picked, whether it was me or you, but I kind of went with. It was a little bit of a chicken game, right? I kind of wish it was on there, but I mean, I think our list was great, though.
I had that on my list.
Oh, you did,
yeah.
But hey, All the Young Dudes did make it. The other version of All the Young Dudes that is great too is at the Freddie Mercury funeral concert with Mick Ronson and Ian Hunter. That may be the definitive recording of it, and it's incredible to get who sang it on the who sang it on the version, Mott the Hoople version with Ronson and Bowie. It's one of Ronson's swan songs. I think he was sick at that point. Really, really good too.
So I know that version. What does Bowie do on it? Because I think of Ian Hunter as singing it.
Oh yeah, he doesn't even sing on it, does he? Does he play sax on it? I'm trying to picture it. A lot of the footage kind of blends together, but he's up there.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure
I've only
he's
heard
playing,
it. I haven't seen it.
I think he's playing something on it. And they also do Heroes, where Ronson's got an EBow out there, which extends notes forever. So he's kind of doing the Bill thing. They might even do another one too. Do they do Under Pressure, I think? But yeah, it's a great performance. Yeah.
Ones that just missed for me. So Jesse had kind of scratched the itch when he picked Voyeur of Utter Destruction as Beauty. What version did you pick again, Jesse? I got to remember this because I got to go play it. 96 at a festival.
Yeah, at the at the Laurel Festival,
Right.
96. Yeah.
Because so the ones that would have just missed for me would have been on that live in Birmingham in '95 album, No Trendy Reshof, I think is how you pronounce
Yeah.
it. But there's
Yeah.
so many. I mean, you could go. I'm just looking at the track list in here. It's got Look Back in Anger, Scary Monsters, A Voyeur of Utter Destruction, Man Who Sold the World, Space Boy, Oxford Town. Like just all of those, kind of take your pick. The one that I was tinkering with would have been the Voyeur version, and then also just the Man Who Sold the World, because it's such a cool, kind of more like Eastern inspired rendition. But then I think it's less the live performance. That's more just, it's the Eno mix. It's kind of like the studio version that came out in the 90s, right? But what I love about that 90s version that he was doing in that period is he's kind of reclaiming the song. A lot of the banter, and he really likes to remind people, here's one that I wrote back in 1968. He really wants
He says
you to know.
68 too. He really
Yeah,
pushes it
yeah.
as far back as possible.
Because he's really trying to be, and what, so I think that's hilarious when he's doing that, right? Like, I wrote this, you bastards, is kind of what he's, don't you forget it. But he kind of does it. It's less of like kind of like a classic rock anthem too. It's more of like, it's a totally new and kind of psychedelic rendition, right? So I think all the versions he was doing that in that period are good. All kinds of stuff that we left out from like the Ziggy era, right? Like Jesse just mentioned, the Free Cloud, Young Dudes, Pretty Things medley, Moon Age Daydream at the Hammersmith, right? I mean, obviously Rock and Roll Suicides, the big iconic, it's the last show we'll ever do, with all the performances, A Width of a Circle. But we covered that period well. I think you had picked what do you call it? I'm Waiting for the Man. So we kind of scratched that itch a bit. And I'm glad too, Jesse, that you picked something that Jerry Leonard was part of, because I wasn't sure if I was going to pick something, and I was kind of wanting to get something off of Reality. Like, I want to say Sunday's kind of a cool performance. I think he's doing some of that glitchier stuff.
Great.
Well, I wanted to make sure he was represented, so I'm glad that you went ahead and picked Loving the Alien from that period, because the Reality tour is almost like John was saying earlier. I think what's great about that, he's happier in the 2000s, right? It's about like a happy, almost like celebration. It's almost like a commemorative look at my career. Little did we know he was actually going to die in about 10, 15 years, but it's almost like looking back at his career with a big smile. So I'm glad we got something from the Reality tour, because I think that's essential Bowie live stuff.
Yeah. Wow. So the ones that I had that I didn't nominate. So Foot Stompin', which he did on the Dick Cavett show.
Yeah. Good. That's a good pick.
It's the forerunner of fame. If you're not familiar with it, I mean, you guys.
Yeah.
And part of it is just the sound, and part of it is the the performance with Ava Cherry doing a dance, and you see Carlos Alomar. He looks like he's 20, right?
Yeah.
And Bowie, I think, is debuting his Gouster look.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. That whole show is just right up there. I saw, what did I see? I saw Dick Cavett on the Criterion channel. I don't know if you watch those closet videos where they pick their favorite movies. He's looking pretty good. Everyone else is standing up. He's sitting down to start the video, and he looks over. He says, "Hi, my name is." It was on the tip of my tongue. And I stole that from him. So whenever when you go around the room at work or whatever and you got to introduce yourself, that's what I've been saying now to kind of break the ice. Dick Cavett still got it, but he's very skittish in that, isn't he? He's kind of, every time Bowie leans forward, Dick Cavett kind of backs off.
Well, during the interview part,
right? Yeah.
Bowie is not his best self.
No.
But he gets up and he performs, and I thought the performance is great.
It was great. Yeah.
You know what I was just listening to, because I was doing a little bit of episode prep for this by playing just making sure I've heard every live album, and the one that I hadn't played yet was actually the Soul Tour 74. I'm Only Dancing.
Yeah.
And that's all. There's a version of Foot Stomping on there.
Yeah.
My only gripe with that, I wish the audio quality was a little bit better. It's not recorded that great, but that's one of the last ones he does. Is Foot Stomping. There's a Diamond Dogs, and it's only rock and roll medley, which is kind of cool. He blends that with the Stones song. I think it's a great live period. That kind of 74, like you said, introducing the Gouster sound and look.
Yeah. That album, is that actually a bootleg? I mean, I know it's readily available, but that wasn't an official release, was it?
I think it might have been one of those ones that was a
Re-
bootleg and then eventually
Yeah,
they just put it out, but it did get an official
it
release
did. Yeah.
It's like a
sometime within the last
record
5.
store day thing, maybe.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the other ones that I had, so I had the next two that I'm going to mention, I felt were, um, I put them on this list because I thought that they were so famous that it's like, I had this sort of philosophical conundrum. It's like, is it my favorite or is it the best or is it the best
Right.
beloved? Right. So I chose to leave them off, but the Live Aid version of Heroes and the Freddie Mercury tribute concert version of Under Pressure that he did with Annie Lennox. And that I think is what I like about that version of Under Pressure is Annie Lennox. Bowie, especially if you watch it, she looks like she's having sex with the guy, and he looks like, who is this person? So, but I thought that those two performances are so well known. I put them on the list, but I didn't nominate them. Then I had these next ones are really, it's like I really had to decide, do I skip ahead and put them on or not? Round and Round, which is a Chuck Berry song that
Yeah.
almost made Ziggy Stardust. It almost made that album, right? So I've heard a couple different live versions, and just the one that I put down is there's a bonus track on the 50th anniversary of the Ziggy Stardust motion picture CD, which I don't have that, but I heard this version on YouTube, and I have another version. I think I have a couple other versions of Round and Round, but everyone I've heard, it's good. It's a Chuck Berry song, but it's sort of to me, it sort of connects like the glam period to something that came even earlier, and he does it with a lot of energy. So I like that. And then he does a version of Imagine, the John Lennon song, in 1983, which was on the anniversary of John Lennon's, like the fourth at that point, or the third anniversary of his murder. And there is a high definition video of him performing it in 1983 that's very readily available on, I've seen it on YouTube, but it's very easy to find. And he does the song very faithful to the John Lennon version of the song, and I just think it's beautiful the way he did it. And then the other one that's both famous and from 1979, and it was either this or the Kenny Everett version of Space Oddity, was the three songs he did on Saturday Night Live. And I was gonna nominate The Man Who Sold the World, which is what he's brought out in the plastic suit, and the three of those he does that. He does TVC 15, right? Boys Keep Swinging, and TVC 15.
Yeah,
and they're all great. So I thought,
and that's with Claus. That's the one with Claus Nomi and Joey Arias, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Really good. Yeah.
So
I like when he.
Yeah.
I like when he came back on in the '90s and did against Lorne Michaels' wishes due to some terrible flashbacks. He came back and did Scary Monsters. He said, "Whatever you do, don't do Scary Monsters." So Bowie came on, did Scary Monsters, and got banned from SNL.
That I thought of adding that to my list too, but that's a great one. So any other live songs that we should mention before we close this out?
Oh, let me see.
There's a lot of good ones.
I mean, we could go on forever, I think. I think that, I would love to see this stuff and hear it at the same time. I think, just to kind of circle back to what we were talking about earlier, I'd love to see a representation of each tour in video, re-upscaled and everything. I just think that there's so much left to be released to a mass audience that we're to put this playlist together, you're gonna have to go and find clips from this and that. It'd be nice to have it, and I don't think it really exists where that you have these live tour like a box set
Right.
of tours. Like, how cool would that be? I don't know what the licensing would be like, or the logistics behind putting out such a box set or whatever. But I just think that his tours are such a huge part of the total package. Talking about this has been fun, and I'm picturing them all just as much as I am hearing it in my head. So
Who knows? Maybe wishful thinking, but like I'm just like to pick. This is another thing. If you listen to our show, we always go back to the Beatles. Think of what's happening that's exciting for the Beatles these last few years. It's
Yeah.
the anthology is going to come out
Yeah.
on like streaming. Maybe it's not even a
Yeah.
physical release box set, but maybe it's like streaming some of these things because that's what's happening with the Beatles. The what do you call it? The Get Back footage, the anthology streaming. Right? There's things that are coming out visually, so maybe we will get that. I'm not sure if it'll be exactly what we as the kind of diehards, the sickos, the completists. I don't think it would maybe satisfy us, but even if we just get a little sprinkle of something that even
Yeah.
just comes out on one of these platforms, streaming wise, I think would be fantastic.
Yeah. Nacho, if you're watching this, you could do that. Nacho, he restores videos. He's got a great website where that has a very extensive collection of restored Bowie videos, including like television appearances. But he could put together exactly what you're describing. The other thing I was thinking of as you're describing it is, like, somebody mentioned the last of the box sets, which is I can't give everything away, but a year from now, whoever is making money off of Bowie will want to release something in 2 years, 3 years from now. The idea of a box set of chronological live albums of tours, it's it sells itself. And if not a box set, you could imagine like a CD that has like 3 songs from each tour or something like that, like a multiple. So there's a lot of ways to do it, but that's a wonderful idea. So
something that you were alluding to earlier, John, you always seem to be preoccupied with is this idea of like what's the future of Bowie. And something else I kind of want to just briefly mention is maybe it's something that we don't even know, because I think in order for Bowie to survive, I mean, we're gonna love him for forever. We, the people who grew up that are your age or a little bit younger in our case, we had dads who you had the albums, or you're someone who's in their 20s, 30s, who has some kind of connection to the 70s music. That'll probably disappear, right? Like, so. But I wonder if something randomly will like Bowie's got this huge catalog. I wonder if something randomly that we don't even expect coming will wind up in a TikTok video or whatever the medium is 20 years from now that randomly goes viral. And maybe that'll be the future. But maybe it's something that we're not even thinking, like, I don't know, drum and bass music goes through a revival 30 years from now, and all of a sudden Earthling Little Wonder is the big trending song of the year. Kate Bush randomly became a huge part of the zeitgeist from Stranger Things. I mean, who saw that coming? No, you could have just pulled a name out of a hat, out of thin air. So maybe that's what makes Bowie survive, 100 years from now. Maybe it'll be something that we can't even really anticipate.
Rome wasn't built in a day, but I was watching a Jets game live, so I saw a commercial with Miller Lite and Rebel.
Really?
And I thought, oh, this can't be the future of Bowie.
No.
Miller
domestic
Lite.
beer commercial.
Domestic beer commercials. It just didn't sit right.
I did not know that it existed.
Yeah,
wow.
Maybe a Canadian thing.
Maybe because I've seen it like 100 times. I know the exact one you're talking about, Jesse.
Miller Lite, Rebel. Wow. Okay. Well, John and Jesse Malloy, this has been terrific. I'm looking forward to the next time we could do this, and I'm very, I like the idea of doing a whole show on obscure movie appearances by David Bowie.
Yeah, let's do that. I think we should do that next. I'll start gearing up for that like tonight.
Yeah, let's in between. Let's do some email exchanges about it. Maybe we could do it in the spring or the late winter.
Perfect. Yeah, the winter's a perfect time to hunker down and watch movies. So that's great. Yeah.
Yeah. Great. Well, this has been wonderful. Thank you for coming on, and I look forward to when we do it again.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having us.
All right. I'll talk again soon.
Okay. Take care, John.
Cheers.